Hello, welcome. I am Glen Harris. I am the producer for Between the Lies. Today we're going to be breaking down the film. Since a lot of you seem to have enjoyed it, thank you so much for the support. 1.6 million views, I think it has right now as of recording, which is just absolutely insane. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for making it a worthwhile endeavor. For those of you that don't know, it was a student dissertation film project for me and three of my other fellow students. And yeah, weren't trying to profit from it. We didn't profit from it in any way. We just kind of wanted to create something cool and put it out there. Didn't market it. So for it to have done as well as it did is incredible. So yes, thank you so much for that. We're in lockdown currently. So we thought, why not look back at one of our old films and kind of go through and break it down in depth, since we can't make any new films at the minute. And maybe it'll be of interest to some of you guys that are looking into the film industry from a kind of an indie, independent kind of small scale perspective. I mean, it was by no means, as I say, it was a student project, so it was by no means a professional production. It only had an £8,000 budget, which I know sounds a lot possibly to some of you. It's a lot to me right now as well. But really, once you've paid for everyone's food and accommodation and transport and hiring some of the kit and some of the props, that's all just gone out the window straight away. So yeah, for us to have pulled it off the way that we did and have had the support that we have had, it's just ridiculous. So thank you. Lots of lessons learned. It was an amazing experience. I feel like there's a lot of breakdowns on YouTube where people are critiquing other people's work, which is great. But I don't see many people critiquing their own films, and everyone's their own worst critic. So I think if anyone's able to look back and pick out every little flaw, it's the producer slash director slash writer, or the DOP if they're looking at the camera work, etc., and give all those little bits of information. So hopefully you guys find it useful and interesting in some way, shape or form. Oh, it was shot on an Arri Alexa. We hired it from Shepperton Studios in London. We were all based in the northeast. We filmed half of it up there, and we filmed half of it in Portsmouth, northeast of England that is, and Portsmouth is right in the south. So we shot in Portsmouth first, went down south from the northeast. It took about a day just to do the driving, obviously via London to pick up some of the gear, and then film what we could down south, and then went back up north and filmed the rest in the woods in the freezing cold in February. It was awful, but great at the same time. So yeah, with that context in mind, let's get into it. Flat 14 Productions was our kind of production company name. It wasn't an official company. Some of us tried to make it into one afterwards, but jobs and life kind of happened and got in the way. Okay, so these shots here were all shot in the side of a van. Literally just had the DOP, Will, director of photography, sitting in the side of the van with the door open, just hand-holding it, getting some shots close to the ground. Probably not the safest way to do it, but we were students and we didn't really care. Just dangling this £50,000 camera, probably more actually, with the lenses on top, just out of this van to get these shots. So yeah, very simple way to achieve kind of a tracking shot like this. If you don't have like a high-speed dolly, just hang your friends out of a van and you'll get a similar effect. Yeah, so you can see in this shot here, we've obviously moved to a perspective in front. I think the van had to be used by the time we got to this shot somewhere else on the location. So we actually jumped in the back of the director's car, I think, and Will was just filming from out the back of the boot, and Eric, our sound guy, was just shooting the boom pole through the back seats. All very professional, just to get the shot, but it works. You can see the Germans in the background there, the three extras. We only have one day where we could afford all the proper reenactment extras that you'll see in a bit. So on this day, I think we just dressed up three of the crew. We were just a couple of other students that were kind enough to join us, a few third and second years that joined us and assisted us with the project. And yeah, we just dressed them up and got them to run, which is why we don't show too much of the background, because there's not actually much there. It's supposed to be like a whole convoy chasing our protagonist here. It's not, as it's literally just one car, because only one of the vehicles was drivable. and then a couple of the extras, which is why we kind of cropped the shot off in the way that we did. If it's not clear to people at this point in the film, again, this is possibly one of our failings. I kind of want to discuss some of that. I think we can all admit that there was a learning experience, and we gained a lot from it. There's a lot of things that we do differently now, and there's a lot of things that we wish we hadn't done in a certain way, but that's the nature of independent, low-budget filmmaking. You learn as you go. And yeah, so at this point, the protagonist is basically, she's a spy. She works in the SOE, the Special Operations Executive, which is a British sort of clandestine unit, which did employ women overseas in the field, like this, not exactly like this. We took a few liberties with the plot, but they did have clandestine missions in the field, and women were included in those operations. For those of you that didn't know that, that's why we wanted to tell this sort of story. It's one that's sort of less well known. I think Call of Duty World War II actually included a female SOE member as well. After this film, so maybe they saw this and got an idea. Probably not. But yeah, so she's basically being dressed undercover as a German soldier. Some people, I think, thought maybe she was supposed to be a German soldier. That's not true. She was just undercover trying to disguise herself, and obviously she's been found out, and now she's being chased, and she's basically got some air support to come and sort out the convoy that's basically chasing her down. But yeah, as I say, maybe that's not hugely clear even a bit later into the film. So something to bear in mind, obviously, for future projects is establish a clear setup at the beginning. That probably would help. Okay. So some more tracking shots in the vehicles. So here we've jumped all the way across the actual location we were filming at. This wall is nowhere near the field that she's running through there, but the track that we could drive the vehicle down, that was the only area we could do that. So we just used some editing trickery basically to try and make it seem it's all in one place, but it's absolutely not. This is a completely different part of the land that we were using to film at the time. You can hear some of the German shouting there. That was actually the extras themselves. We asked them to just shout some words in German because they're very dedicated reenactment actors, and they knew a bit of German. So we just got a sound guy to stand in the distance whilst they shouted at him. And our assistant director, I think his mum is German, so he was able to confirm what they were saying. So I have no idea, but apparently it's all correct and relevant to the story. So here they all are. Yeah, so this was shot on a different day to the stuff we saw at the beginning where they were being chased. All these vehicles here, a lot of them weren't really mobile. I think one of the bikes was, and one of the big trucks was, as you saw at the beginning. But yeah, all these guys are the reenactment guys. They did a brilliant job. They really did us a massive favour. We worked with a company called History in the Making. They were kind enough to give us a huge student discount so that we could hire all this stuff within our very, very tight budget. And yeah, they brought on these guys as part of that kind of deal. And they stayed there for one whole day with us pretty much. I remember the facilities weren't particularly great for them. We didn't have any proper places for them to really go and sit down and get warm, have some tea, all that sort of stuff. There was, I think, some confusion there in the pre-production planning phase as to who was supposed to be catering for who. That's one of my regrets as a producer, definitely, is not making sure that was all sorted personally, because it left a few people unhappy, and rightfully so. So yeah, always check that everyone is well looked after, well fed. It seems very obvious, but when you're in the midst of trying to plan all these other parts of the production at the same time, it's something that can kind of get left by the wayside. And if you're a small team like we were, as I say, there was only four of us in the main that were actually planning it all and going through the whole dissertation process for this film. It's something that can get kind of easily forgotten. You think it's a simple thing, but it's actually not, and there needs to be time and energy dedicated to looking after everyone that's there on set. So yes, moving on. So you can see that bin on the left there is yellow. You'll see in another shot a bit later on, it's brown. That's because this is actually how it looked, and we didn't think it really fit in with the rest of the scenery. The color palette doesn't really work for us. So Will, who also color graded the film as well as shot it, was able to tweak the color of it in the shot that you'll see later to make it to look brown instead. He did that in DaVinci Resolve. But yeah, I think in this shot, because it was so quick, it was quite hard to do it convincingly. Chasing her down. This is the first thing I think we shot. It's our thumbnail that we used in the end for YouTube. she has come on there. That's not actually her. We ADR'd that, which basically means we dubbed it in post with the director's voice because it didn't come out very well on the day. So just a little bit of insight there. And this is Glenn. He's our actor who plays Eric. This is Sigourney, by the way, who plays Judith. You'll see Glenn come in now. I think a few people were kind of criticising how he holds the rifle here, which is fair. He's probably not holding it correctly. But we were kind of running late on this day, and we had to just get him in costume and start. So we didn't have a lot of time to kind of go through how to hold it correctly, which is unfortunate. But you know, he's supposed to be the kind of green, young, new kind of soldier, and I guess you could justify that's why he's maybe not the best well-trained soldier there is. But yeah, the reality of it is, Glenn doesn't know how to hold a gun, and we didn't have time to properly show him. So this is how it ended up. So we've got the siren now. Don't know if there would actually be a siren in this situation where she's obviously called air support and they're coming to take out the convoy. We weren't able to show the planes because we didn't have a budget for VFX. We didn't have a VFX artist. So we thought we were trying to think of ways to make it obvious that a plane, like an air raid, is basically coming over to bomb them. And the siren was one of the more obvious things. Obviously, we've got some plane sound effects that come in as well later, but we couldn't actually show any planes because we didn't have access to any. So that was why that went down the way that it did. There you go. You see the bill on the right there. It's now brown. Running through that mud was pretty tricky as well, I believe, especially with all that gear. Sue runs out the back here. We do another kind of jump through the space. Like that door doesn't lead directly out here, but obviously, hopefully you can't really tell that it's kind of a jump through the locations, geography. And then you see these guys going past the camera here. Again, that was shot on a day when we didn't have all the extras, so that was shot with just some of the crew. And we just had them run in circles around the camera to make it look like there was more than 2 or 3 of them in uniform, and there's the same people. Obviously, when it's up close against the lens, it's blurred, so you can't really tell it's the same people just running in circles around the camera. Swanee taking cover, all the guys running back. Those sound effects, I think a lot of them were actually the blanks that were practically used on the day. We recorded the sound, it sounded quite good. We enhanced them obviously with some extra sounds afterwards, and then you've got the planes. So yeah, these explosions, some people were saying they didn't look too convincing, some of them, especially the bigger ones, which is again a fair criticism. Once again, we didn't have much of a budget, and the guys at History in the Making supplied the pyrotechnics, and I doubt they used their best stuff on us. I can't blame them for that. We were a bunch of students, and we hadn't given them a lot of money, as I say, comparatively to what a big studio would at all. So I don't blame them at all for that. And I'd always rather go for practical effects over bad CGI, because we would have, if we'd done CGI, it would have looked unconvincing. I'd rather it was kind of a less convincing practical explosion rather than a 3D mess, basically. Yeah, so these shots here, we were hoping to get in a bit tighter and maybe follow Eric, the supporting character, the German soldier, around whilst this was all going on to kind of get more of his perspective. But we were kind of worried about missing, because these explosions, all these explosions that happen are the only explosions that we had. Literally, if we missed them in a take, we wouldn't have been able to do a second take. So we wanted to keep the shots fairly simple and not rely on too much blocking. The guys there, Hamish, who was the director of History in the Making, he directed the extras on this particular part and just basically told them to do their thing. A lot of it was kind of improv on their part, which fair play to them. They did a really good job of making it seem convincing. But they've been doing it for years. They've been working on things like Enemy at the Gates. I think some of them did Saving Private Ryan. So they were very experienced. So they knew exactly what to do. So bless them for putting up with us students at the time as well. But yeah, we kept the perspective. We used a long lens and some wide angles, and tried to film it from where Sigourney, our lead actress, was. So it was kind of from her perspective instead, because then there's more chance of it being in focus. We're capturing all the action, less chance of missing something. And then we don't have to worry about not being able to do a retake. But we did have 2 other cameras being operated on either side, just in case something went wrong with the main camera, the Arri Alexa. Fortunately, it didn't. We used all the Alexa shots, but we had a Blackmagic Ursa and a Blackmagic Cinema camera on the standby. Well, getting B and C shots basically, just in case, because you don't want to do all that and then for it all to be for nothing. Trust me. So yeah, here's some of the smoky explosions. And we're about to have a flashback in a moment. Here we go. So yeah, this flashback's actually very important to the story. It kind of sets up why she's there and what she's doing. It's very short and maybe a little vague. I don't know. Some people may not have got enough information from this one scene. That's something, again, kind of regret from a story perspective, is not kind of nailing her objectives, if you like. Also, this is Hamish. He's the manager at History in the Making, as I say. He was kind enough to step in and be an officer for us because we didn't have anyone in Portsmouth down south that could play that for us. So yeah, he stepped in. I think some people said the badge, I think it's that badge they're referring to, isn't correct. This might be a Vietnam thing. I wouldn't know. I was kind of trusting the history guys to be the historians and basically fact check all that kind of thing. Again, I don't blame them for missing a few things if it is incorrect. As I say, they were doing a big favour for us. They were doing a lot of things between a very small crew. Things like that can get missed when you're in a rush. And we, as the sort of student filmmakers that were there, were just happy that it was even happening in the first place. We weren't too worried about the pin or the badge on his chest at the time, unfortunately. But yes, fair play to you those of you that did spot that. So yeah, he's giving their orders. Oh, and this barn here is actually the barn that you see in the final scene. Obviously, it's at night, and we just kind of revamped some of it to make it look a bit different. But it is actually the same barn, so just reusing the same location, trying to make it look like a different place. That script there was just printed out in our travel lodge.
You're being parachuted deep into it.
Oh, I should probably mention the travel lodge situation. We were sharing it as a crew. I think we had 4 rooms between us, 3 people to a room, and that included Glen and Sigourney, our 2 lead actors. So fair play to them. I don't think that's what they were expecting when they first signed up. And they put up with a lot, just kind of living with us basically for a week in hotels. So yes, thank you very much, guys, for dealing with us and putting up with that situation. But it was a nice bonding experience, and they were really cool, and they did an excellent job. It gave us lots of time to rehearse whilst we weren't on set as such. Not that I would tell anyone to do that with their actors, but yeah, it was a good experience. This script, as I say, if you pause this and read it, I think I wrote it in the travel lodge very quickly and printed it out before, because another one of those things that got kind of missed before we got down south. But yeah, it's probably not the most official military document, put it that way.
New territory. Once you've made your drop, you're on your own. It's imperative that you collect and deliver the explosives from the convoy to our people in Sector 5 near Lyon. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
So this is establishing, obviously, the fact that she's part of the SOE. So now we're back to present day. So yeah, this part here, obviously, we couldn't blow up the vehicles, we couldn't damage them in any way, we weren't allowed to do anything like that with them. They're supposed to have been disabled by the air raid at this point, which is why when you see in a minute when her and Eric go to leave the area, they walk. Some people wondering why they didn't get in the vehicle. They're supposed to have all been disabled by the air raid. We didn't have the effects to show that. We didn't have any smoke either that we could have used at the time. So we just kind of hoped people would understand. And again, that's just another one of those limitations that came from time and budget, really. Remember this scene where she's about to search through all the vehicles was quite tricky. Not only walking across the terrain, which was quite hazardous, quite rocky and uneven, so getting the handheld shots and remaining in focus was tricky. But I think some people actually hurt themselves on it as well. One of the extras might have cut themselves when they fell. She's changing into a French civilian outfit now, any second now. There you go. But yeah, we also had the sun constantly going in and out. As I say, it was February, so we were kind of hoping it would just be cloudy. But no, we had a lot of harsh sunlight, which I remember Will, the director of photography, wasn't too pleased with. You can see here the shadows are pretty harsh. Quite hard to grade sometimes when there's lots of hard sunlight like that. I think we had a chain of people here kind of walking with her as we follow around the site. So we had, Will on the camera and then our assistant camera focus pulling, trying to watch it as they went. We had a few guys cable bashing some BNC cables, so that we could get the monitor feed to the director. And here she's trying to find the explosives, which again I'm not sure we highlighted brilliantly. The explosives are kind of a key item in all of this. They come into play at the end, especially. They're obviously what she's trying to deliver to the French resistance in Lyon. There they are, right there. We kind of probably should have emphasised those more. Again, another thing I kind of regret. You can see in the bottom left there as well. There's kind of in some of the shots there's a bit of light refracting off the lens. I think that was due to the I believe it was the ND filter that we had to put on the front of the camera. Something went wrong with the setup there, so that's why you see that little shimmer in the bottom left. And here a compass isn't working. Again, we couldn't really break the compass as the prop because I needed the prop, but we wanted to show that the compass was broken and she didn't really know where she was going, which again is very key to why she ends up teaming up with Eric, because Eric knows the way to Lyon, she doesn't without the compass. But I don't know again how clear it was in those particular shots that was the case. So again, that's something else that we probably should have tried to find a way of emphasizing more. You don't want to spoon feed the audience, but you want to make sure they have enough information and you reinforce that information to make it clear that that's important. And yeah, I'm not sure we did that necessarily at every point we should have. So you see some of the tracking shots as we walk towards like this one here. This was actually on a Steadicam on a separate camera. On the Blackmagic Cinema camera, and I was operating this, which is why it's not very steady. Again, the terrain wasn't great, but my Steadicam operating skills weren't top notch either. But yeah, that was a different camera. So here we were debating whether to use subtitles and whether they were going to end up speaking in French all the time or German or what, but we ended up just having them decide that they could speak to each other in English instead, just to save us putting lots of subtitles in.
Oui. Yes. Sorry, I cannot help you.
No. I have to get back to Lyon.
So that's obviously an important moment there. She realises he's going to Lyon, she's going to Lyon. He knows the way, she doesn't. So now she has to kind of reluctantly team up with him.
Yes. Oui, yes.
You know how to get there.
I think this scene works pretty well. Leanne and the actors did a great job. Leanne, being the director of the film, did a really good job at establishing that. The back and forth. She's deciding what she should do.
Hold still. That should stop the bleeding. I must get to Lyon, to my husband. My compass is broken. Can you see
There
me?
she says the compass is broken.
Yeah, I can take you, sir. I can help
But you know, show don't tell if you can is a good rule of thumb.
This is not a good idea.
No, wait, please. Oh, I don't want to die.
So here she's being a bit more human, being a bit more sympathetic. So we see the connection, kind of this is the beginning of it here.
I don't
Trying
know.
to make her a more sympathetic protagonist as well. You can see back left there, some of you pointed out there's some modern cars and also a Portaloo. Yeah, that was our bad. We missed that, I think, while shooting and in the edit by the looks of it. So yeah, not sure how that one slipped through the cracks, but it did. So I do apologise, but well done for spotting it.
I can trust you.
Nor do I. But neither of us.
It's a fairly simple scene, a bit of back and forth, but the thing that takes the amount of time is getting the beats, the emotional beats and the acting just right. Camera-wise, it was relatively simple. Now we're filming up north. This was actually in an area we had to trudge across a load of mud just to get there. We were carrying all this kit. I don't know if we had proper permission to be there, being students. I think the farm nearby said it was okay, but it was like a public footpath or a public area. And I remember there was this one woman that came by walking her dog, and she seemed really offended by the German uniform, and she, for some reason, really didn't like the fact that we were filming a World War II film. So she was threatening to report us and all this. So we actually ended up having to kind of rush this scene because we weren't sure if we were about to get kicked off the land, basically. And it was wet and miserable as well. So you're kind of regretting a decision to help. There's a bit of an important moment here that sets up something later on with a pendant of Eric's or Glen's. You see some of the water dropping down there as well. That's from an umbrella. That's trying to cover the crew and the camera, because you can't really tell on camera, but it was tipping it down, and lots of stuff was getting wet. So we didn't want to get too heavily fined for the kit being damaged. I think we did actually get fined for some water damage in the end, and this is kind of part of the reason why. Yeah, so there's the pendant. There's some more water dropping from the umbrella. So I think this scene definitely works from a kind of character, emotional kind of point of view. But some of it, for me personally, maybe drags on a little bit too much now from a sort of pacing perspective. It's a hard balance to strike. Some of the shots, like perhaps this one, maybe linger for a bit too long. We probably would have got more coverage if we hadn't been rushing it. So we could kind of increase the pacing a little. But yeah, still a necessary scene to have to get that story beat. And then this is back down south. I think this is the last thing we filmed down south. Just a quick scene between the two of them. Again, fairly simple to set these ones up from a camera perspective. There's no lights really involved when it's outdoors like this. And we thought the best way to keep it looking period with a low budget would be to set a lot of the film in the woods. Because obviously you don't then have to worry about anything really looking very modern. The woods are the woods. It's not really changed. And so that's kind of a lot of the reason why it's all set in the woods. But, you know, it kind of also serves the story as well. Yeah, fair play to these two for maintaining the accents and getting the emotions across. I mean, obviously neither of them were, both of them were, well, actually Sigourney was Australian and Glen's English. So both, I think, did a good job. I'm sure some people that speak the languages would disagree, but...
My husband will be worried.
Oh, I don't care. I can't go.
Again, I've got the harsh sunlight here, which caused a bit of an issue.
Please, just stop for a while and find some water.
Remember this scene being quite heavily rehearsed. I think it might have been one of the audition
You need
scenes.
me more than I need you. And I
Spent a
don't
lot of time in the travel lodge on this scene too. This is where he pulls the gun on there. Some people said he wouldn't have this gun. I'm not entirely sure. Again, we were kind of relying on the history and the making guys to tell us whether or not it was correct. Apparently, some people said we could get away with him having it in this situation. Maybe he took it from someone in the convoy. I don't know.
And I say, let's find some water and rest.
Some good tense music there from our composer Sam Heck, who's an American guy. I think he did a lot of it for free as well, if not all of it for free, which is very kind of him. Not that I would say get your composer to do stuff for free, definitely pay them if you can. As students, I think we'd run out of budget by then. He was just doing us a favour as a friend. So this little fight here, well, it's not really a fight, this disarm, it was supposed to be a touch cleaner. We actually had it taught to myself and the director, Leanne, a couple of weeks prior by a fight choreographer, Mike Carr, who does a lot of martial arts. He's a martial arts teacher. He basically broke it down, we acted it out, and then we passed on the knowledge to them in the travel lodge and rehearsed it, which is why it looks a little rough around the edges. But I think that adds a little bit maybe to the realism. But realistically, if she's a spy, she would know how to disarm someone in hand-to-hand combat in that way. So we wanted it to look somewhat convincing, and that plays a factor as well into what Eric says in a few minutes.
Look, I don't have time for this. Tell me the way I go myself. Which way?
I'm sorry.
Showing the power dynamic.
I thought you were going to leave me.
Look,
She's kind of feeling a bit sorry for him again,
we can both help.
reluctantly.
But I will not be ruled by these threats. Is that understood?
Again, each scene kind of establishes sort of more character development. It kind of it moves the plot forward in one way or another. It's either advancing the narrative or if it's developing the characters. Every scene should at least do one of those two things, if not both, if you want to be really efficient.
With all that's going on, a woman has to be prepared.
See there, he asks how she disarmed someone in that way. So he's starting to get a bit suspicious. We wanted to plant a few seeds of suspicion, which culminates in what he decides to do at the end of the film, which is betray her, effectively. Spoilers. I'm assuming you've seen this already on our channel.
We stop for 1 minute. Let's go.
So this was back up north now. Spent quite a lot of time at this location. Little dolly shot there. Getting the track steady on the mud is always fun. I think this area was, to get to this point as well, we had to basically park in a ditch of mud. And I think the van or one of the cars that got stuck in the end, we had to push it out, and getting all the kit out the back of the van, we were falling around in the mud, and it really wasn't good. We borrowed some kit from the university and hired some obviously from the studio, and don't think they were too pleased with the condition of some of the cases that they came back in. Again, should have recce'd better. Should have planned it out. Should have figured out, hey, this is going to be a problem. What can we do to resolve it? Again, we were doing a lot of things at university at the same time as planning this film. Obviously, making excuses, kind of, but that was the reality of it. Again, this is more of a kind of showing the humanity between the two of them sort of scene. I think some people think he doesn't actually drink anything here. I think he does. I can't remember if there was water in there or not. But there's definitely food that you're about to see. And I don't think they eat something properly every time, but we were trying to be conservative with how much we ate because we had so much on set. But I think they ate some actual food in this scene. It's always hard to make it look convincing otherwise. So again, this is a scene, we had some debates in the edit. I seem to remember whether or not it went on for too long. It's, as I say, a difficult balance to strike sometimes, trying to get the pacing right, but also hit those narrative beats and those character beats.
Thank you. What is your name?
Eva? Eva Sylvestre. And your name?
So here she's kind of spinning her lie as a spy,
Ron.
and he's being obviously honest about himself, which that little look there, obviously a little bit of guilt.
I miss my mother's cooking.
Now she's kind of seeing him more as a person, I guess. There's just kind of beginning to see him less as a soldier in this scene.
Sorry, I just never expected.
It was important to us to try and show the human sides of the conflict on both sides. Because it's very easy just to have these were the enemy, these were the good guys kind of thing. But at the end of the day, everyone was just people. And that's something we tried to portray throughout the film where we could.
18. 19 in a month.
Obviously, he's also very young, 18, just barely old enough to serve.
I see your mother never taught you it's impolite to ask a lady her age.
I think we cut a line there actually that was in the edit. I think he said sorry miss, but we weren't keen on it, so we cut that. Again, just speeding it up a little bit.
We should get set for the next. I'll see if I can make us some warm food. Here. You can set.
So yeah, there we're establishing not only some of the elements of them lying to each other, or her lying to him, but also kind of the bonding that sort of begins between the two of them in that scene. And it kind of continues on into this scene. Just to talk quickly about the lighting there, it was nice to light the fire because it was the only warmth we had. It was about midnight around this point. It was absolutely freezing in the northeast of England, in the wind, in February, icy cold. And yeah, that fire was very nice. But actually, a lot of these shots where they're close up aren't predominantly lit by the fire. It's not as bright as you might think. We actually use LEDs with orange gel to cover the front, CTO, and we just had someone like dangling a glove in front of the light, just kind of shimmering it, so that kind of gives it that like sort of shimmering effect, like as if it's for fire, moving, which works surprisingly well. It's like a low budget way to simulate a glowing fire, which we still use to this day actually. I think this was the first time we implemented it. And then you see the trees in the background are lit in kind of like a pale bluey sort of colour there. And that was all lit with an LED too, because it's like Hollywood moonlight. Moonlight's never actually bright enough to show up on camera like that. So we lit that with some distant LEDs.
Eric, what is that?
And here the pendant comes back into play.
It's
Again, might be kind of random to have the pendant suddenly appear here, so that's why kind of part of the reason we had that scene
my uncle
previously,
gave it to me
to establish this.
before I left.
Gives it a bit more weight. Obviously very much seeing the human side of him here. She's feeling very sorry for
I
him.
find it comforting. I want to make him proud.
I'm sure you will. He's a soldier too?
Yeah. I haven't seen him in months.
Again, Leanne and the actors did a great job here. I remember this scene going down pretty much exactly the way it was planned.
I nearly died today.
At this point, meanwhile, I think I was stood in the distance holding that LED that was shining in the moonlight, or one of the ones that was, I think we had two, and one of the production assistants throwing biscuits my way to keep me sane. It's all about the biscuits.
I have been working and was en route home to Lyon.
So yeah, here she's giving it more of a cover story. Again, he's kind of questioning why she was there, planting that kind of seed of doubt, and she's actually giving an argument that a French woman would be doing here, where she says she's selling makeup to women in a second, I think. Here we go. And that's actually something that would have happened at the time. We were trying to find something that would be realistic. Obviously, she'd need it to be realistic
So you're not working now?
to convince him.
What?
But she's kind of dropping her guard a little bit in places here. She's not really hiding her emotions,
Stops asking questions as well.
saying that he reminds her of her younger brother, which is why kind of
That's why I'm
she's taken this kind of shine to him. She feels kind of sorry for him. So it reminds her of her younger brother.
We should get some sleep.
So Glenn does a good job at showing the sort of conflicted nature just with some looks. I think the silences, she handles them really well. As you say,
Good night, Ava.
show don't tell if you can, so Glenn does a very good job at that. And there where she says goodnight as well, that was another line that was dubbed by the director. They sounded quite similar to each other actually, at least when they're whispering. So this, again, same location, was shot immediately after the previous daytime scene that you saw, because obviously it makes sense to shoot everything that's in the daytime first and then do the night stuff when it gets to
My
nighttime,
leg feels better.
rather than wait for a whole day.
You look better.
Maybe we had a few dog walkers come past here wondering what the heck we were doing. None of them threatened to report us this time though. So yeah, then we put a bit of a montage together. We were getting some of these shots kind of as we were going around different locations, getting as many as we could if we had time. I think a few got cut in the end. But yeah, a mix of kind of up north and down south. I think there was a scene that actually got cut around this sort of area because we spent a whole morning just trudging through this farmland and over these fields and through these marshes with all this heavy kit, like carrying it from the van, going back and forth in convoys. And we got there and just this massive storm just beat down on us, and there was so much wind and rain, it was getting in the lens. No one could really see what they're doing. We couldn't hear anything. Even the sound guy couldn't mask all the wind out. The actors were like just getting really fed up with it. They were drenched. I think Sigourney ended up getting the flu from it, and it was not a good situation. So we had to just completely can the scene. Luckily, it wasn't too vital, and actually probably ends up helping the pacing of the film. But yeah, I remember that being tough, just making that decision. We got there, I think we got one shot, and then we were just like, this isn't working. So we packed up and left and went to the next location. I remember we didn't have enough space in the car either, for some reason at one point. so they had to do a convoy, and I ended up having to stay at some random pub in the middle of nowhere, and I just sat and had a couple Guinnesses, because I needed it at that point. So I must have looked like an absolute wreck walking into that pub. I saw a few heads turned my way, but anyway, getting sidetracked. Don't know if the wood on this bridge looks period. You'll have to tell me in the comments. Just lots of passages of time. They've obviously spent a bit of time together, travel quite a distance. Bonding a bit more there. He's walking a little better, arguably. This, I think, was just a random football pitch, rugby field that we filmed on. Again, just being careful with what we were putting in the frame. Avoiding all the telegraph poles and whatnot. Got a lot of kind of cutaways like this where we could. Some of it wasn't actually shot when we were filming the bulk of the film. We just grabbed bits and pieces afterwards. I think there's a moon shot that we got outside my flat like weeks after because we found we needed it in the edit. Again, this is all shot with just LEDs trying to simulate moonlight. You can see it's not really lit very well in the background, but we just didn't have enough equipment or big enough lights to light the whole forest up, unfortunately, which is why it's just them, which, you know, it doesn't look amazing, but we did what we could. This bit here, you see a few guys walking around the forest with these big torches. That's actually just a bunch of the crew, myself included, I think, just with some LEDs, just holding them, just walking around. Supposed to be possible soldiers, not sure which side they're supposed to be on, but you'll see here, yeah, we're not actually wearing period clothing. You can't really tell because we're in silhouette. We're trying to trick it as best we could, but the idea is they can't really see them and make them out, so we hoped we'd be able to get away with it. But yeah, we didn't have access to any uniforms back up north here, apart from Eric's, which we had to post back down to the guys at History in the Making afterwards. So yeah, this seems very important.
What if it's my people?
What if it is
I
not?
can't really trust the people over there. So you guys to check it out. This is where Judith makes a mistake with the symbol that she's about to give. It's okay. It's only okay in English, not French or German, I believe, which is what gives her away. Again, we wanted to kind of sell that here with Eric's or Glen's look. Realizes she's not who she says she is. That's why we kind of tried to plant those other seeds earlier on, so it's not just this one thing that gives him the revelation.
Indeed.
He's not looking her in the eye really here. Eye lines are very important.
We will be near Lyon soon, yes?
Yeah. We are near.
Glen does a good job there of showing his mistrust.
We can get a fresh start in the morning, yeah?
Very well.
So is that moonshot again I was talking about? So here's where it all starts to kind of kick off. Again, we just lit a lot of this with the LEDs, various ones dotted around. It was very late at this point. I think this is one of the last things that we actually were able to film on the day. Gone midnight, definitely, at this point. We're all very tired. All of us had very little sleep. A lot of us were crashing at mine and Will's house.
Eric?
Sigourney had my bed, and I had the floor in the living room because she had the flu, as I say, so we wanted to try and look after her as best we could. Quite unorthodox, as I say, to share all these rooms. But yeah, none of us got much sleep either way. Some more nice tense music from our composer.
What on earth are you doing? Where have you been? You're walking.
My apologies. I could not sleep. It was too cold and you would not wake. But I remembered. There's a barn over there. There's water and shelter. And found this in the woods. We can move faster.
So we're putting a lot of emphasis on the stick here because he's saying he found it in the woods, but he actually found it in the barn.
It's
It's supposed to imply that he's been to the barn when he shouldn't have been. I don't know how clear it is, because she sees the sticks in the minute she makes the connection that he's brought the stick from the barn, so he's already been here, and it seems like he's scheming. I don't know how clearly that came across, but that's actually supposed to be an important point. This is back down south. This is the barn that was in the same one that we used for the office in the flashback scene. Some nice lighting here by Will, getting Eric looking quite evil in half shadow. It's one of our more complex lighting setups. I remember it taking a long time. We had a massive 2K Arri light hanging off of some scaffolding and a few 1K Arri lights pointing through the windows. So this is where she's making the connection between the stick and he's already been at the barn, that sort of thing.
Did you
So
say you hadn't been here before?
there you go. You haven't been here before.
That's right.
So we kind of cemented there with the dialogue, but I don't know how clear it is before that that's the connection that she's making.
Excuse me.
Where are you?
Maybe it is clear. Maybe I'm just being too critical. I don't know.
I'm just going to search for something to drink.
Yes, she knows something's up here. Yeah, so again, these rooms were not connected like this at all. Again, we're jumping across the location massively here, but you can't really tell. Some more nice lighting from Will there as she comes out of the shadows. He lifts his torch in a second. The button, when he presses it to shine the light, is it squeaked really loudly on set. It sounded really comical. It just completely ruined the tension, so we had to remove it in post. Yeah, here he's actually a bit conflicted. Not sure whether to betray her or not, but obviously now he is. He's made his decision. She realises. Signalling his fellow troops. That light there isn't real. We added that in post. One of the few actual effects that we added. Because, yeah, we couldn't get anything to shine bright enough in the distance to look convincing. So, yeah, at this point she knows what's going on, obviously.
Good news. I found clean water.
What are you doing?
Still keeping up the spy facade. Looks at the torch. Again, not sure how clear it is that that's the torch. But then kind of realising they know what's going on both sides now.
You're sick.
This is where he explains how he figured it out.
It means okay in neither German or French. Only English.
Another scene that was heavily rehearsed. It's quite important to get this sort of one right.
And what do you suppose we
Drops the facade, uses a normal accent. Well, the character's normal accent, obviously Sigourney's Australian. This fight here is another one that was choreographed by Mike Carr. He choreographed myself and the director Leanne, and then we passed it on to the actors. She exploits his weakness there, kicks him in the wound on his leg. And we kind of want to try and make it convincing that someone, like two people that aren't especially well-trained fighters, she could overcome him in a realistic way. And we thought the best way to do it would be to kind of exploit that weakness. Obviously use the knife at the start to disarm him. He's very much regretting his decisions. It was nice because once we'd set up the lights for the scene, we could just get on with it. Took a while to get right there, and obviously she stabs him there. We were supposed to have some blood pouring out the side of his neck, but we could not get it to come through the tube. One of the History in the Making guys was trying to sort it out. They were only with us down south, by the way. When we went back up north, this was their site pretty much. So that's why all the props and everything was there. When we went back up north, we just had what we were able to carry with us, and then the student side of the crew. So yeah, we weren't able to get the blood to come through a tube, and it was taking too long, so we just had to cut it. Still can't monetize the film though. So now, I kind of wanted it to seem like she was obviously very regretful. Feels like she's killed a younger brother almost. Obviously they've been bonding all this time. Leanne and Sigourney spent a lot of time getting this shot right here, this look. I think they nailed it really. You can tell she's very conflicted about what she's done. And this part here was actually shot on a separate day, the same day as when we had all those extras. Again, we can only have one car that was moving. Some of the extras, bless their souls, they were kind enough to stick around and wait until dark and do this scene for us. But this was shot separately to what you're seeing with Sigourney in the barn. Yeah, bless these guys. And then they come in, find the body. You kind of see the blood there that was supposed to come out. That line took a while. The real nice guy, but was not a German speaker. And our assistant director, who spoke a bit of German, as I say, sort of ran through it with him. I think Sigourney had a German boyfriend, lived in Germany for a while as well. So they were able to help get it sounding convincing, because none of us really knew how to do it. I'm sure it's still slightly off, but it's workable for what it was. I'm sure any German speakers out there would thoroughly disagree. There's the blood that we were trying to get to pour out. And then this is where the explosives come back into play. Again, not sure how clear it is, but that's the explosives there. We tried to use sound to kind of heighten it. Obviously, we probably should have tried to establish it a bit clearer earlier on and here. And then this is actually the football pitch I mentioned earlier. So we're just trying to maximise the uses of different locations. We were filming different parts of the film, all in completely different spots on different days. Just using filming trickery to tie it all together, which is obviously how it's done most of the time anyway. That explosion there, didn't have the budget for a proper explosion, couldn't blow up the barn, couldn't use CG, so that was again just an LED, used the dimmer to turn it up and down, and then someone waving a glove in front of it to get that flicker. Took a few takes to get it right, but I don't think it looks too bad. I remember waiting in that location for a while just for dusk to fall so we could get the right kind of light, the ambient light. And here the final shot, which wasn't the last shot that we actually filmed. I think the last film we did was the okay scene. But yeah, so really difficult trying to find the spot to show that there's a town. She's finally reached the destination without it looking ridiculous. Because obviously this is not a French town from the mid 20th century. It is a 21st century village in England. So yeah, don't know how clear it is that those are modern buildings, but it's definitely not period, put it that way. But she's finally reached her destination, which we could only really showcase by putting the text in the corner there. That's the reason we put that text in. And there we have it, written and directed by Leanne. Good job, Leanne. I think you did fantastic with this, and definitely need to work together again soon. Will, brilliant job as director of photography. There's Hamish, who I say was the lead guy in History in the Making. Mikey, our editor, he's working with the Yogscast now. Jean, Hamish's wife, I believe, or partner. So composer Sam. We saw our sound guy Eric. He was constantly wearing shorts throughout the whole damn thing in the middle of bloody winter. These are all our supporters, lots of them friends and family. Sigourney, Glenn, if you need some good actors, get in touch with them. So yeah, you'll see a few repeat names because a lot of people just played multiple roles. Alex there, he was doing a dissertation on a separate student film at the time. Really nice for him to join us and help us out because he really saved our skill in some parts. And yeah, you can see all the extras here. Shout out to you guys, thank you very much for being so professional. And yeah, that's about it. You got the B&C cameras there, as I say, they weren't used very much, mainly for that one Steadicam bit and the explosions. And also thank you to a lot of the second years that came and helped us out. Mike Carr for doing the fight choreography with us. There you go. Oh, thanks. Obviously we were doing it for the University of Sunderland. A couple of the rental houses and all that. So yeah, that is Between the Lies. I hope it's been an interesting video. I just wanted to kind of go through it, break it down a little bit. I'm sure there's things that I've missed. If you have any questions, obviously, feel free to put them in the comments. I'll try and answer a bunch of them. Quite enjoyed making this actually. It's not something we've really done on this channel, but we're trying our best to get it monetized. We're part of the YouTube partner program, but we're trying to get the AdSense stuff working. There's a bit of a complication there, so obviously we'll try and post some more stuff fairly regularly if we can get it all up and running properly. Or probably do it anyway. So if you have any suggestions for what you'd like to see, we'll try and keep it obviously, you know, media related, film related. Maybe dive into some other mediums as well. We'd love to make some more short films as well, of course. I mean, really with Flat 14 at the minute, it's really just myself and Will, who was the DOP for this, who are still kind of working under the name of it as freelancers occasionally, but we both have other jobs as well that we do. So we just occasionally do, you know, the odd promo, a little local commercial, like a wedding video or a music video as well. But yeah, we don't really have a lot of time or the money to do another proper short film or indeed a feature film, which we'd also like to do. I've got loads of scripts we'd love to do, but yeah, maybe we'll try and put a fundraiser out at some point, because we've both said that if we were to do it another one from now on, we really want to, you know, be able to fund it correctly, because things like this, whilst we had budget, it wasn't enough to cover what we were really trying to do. And you know, as students and even a little while after students, we did freebies for other people and people did freebies for us, and we really think at this point we want to be able to bring people on set and pay them for their time properly and make sure that we can get all the kit and the props and locations that we need. So all of that sort of thing requires a proper budget. So it'd be really great to get around to doing that at some point. So obviously we'll keep you posted on this channel, I'm sure, as things develop in that area. Thank you very much for watching and for all the support. It's ridiculous. And as I say, I never thought we'd hit 1.6 million views on this video, especially. We were thrilled when we got the first 1,000, and then it just seemed to keep going from there. So yeah, thank you so much for that, and please do like and subscribe, and keep an eye out for our future stuff, because we'll have more coming up soon. I'm thinking maybe I'll do maybe another breakdown of my first film that I ever shot pre-uni. This was before I even really knew how to, and just to try and look at things from maybe a complete beginner's perspective, because I know there's a lot of things out there that are maybe a bit more catered towards people that kind of already have a bit of experience, kind of know what they're talking about. But I remember when I started out, I'd watch a lot of these breakdowns and stuff, and I'd still feel a bit lost. I had no understanding of it at all. I just had a handycam and liked filming with my friends. So if I can maybe make some videos that cater to those people as well, that'd be a nice thing to do, I think. So yeah, let us know if you have any ideas yourself, and we'll see if we can make this a regular thing. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'm sure we'll see you again very soon.
3, 2, 1. Boom, baby!
Oh god.